What's up guys, Magic Nabs here, and in today's video I'm bringing to you a new airsoft review video on the Dan Wesson CO2 Revolver. This is the old version of the Dan Wesson Revolver. I did a review on the Dan Wesson 715, which has a hop-up, but I decided due to some issues which I'll get into in this review, I'll explain why. If you want a revolver that you can modify to make it a shotgun revolver, I'll explain why you'll want to go with the old version rather than the new version. First and foremost, this is a CO2 powered revolver, so and this is the high powered version, so it's very powerful. Like out of the box, it's shooting right around 450 feet per second, which is exactly what I want it to have in order to make this modification, in order to make this into a shotgun revolver. Okay, the CO2 is stored in the grip here. What you do is this Hogue style grip. It's a mix of rubber but also plastic, so it doesn't have the greatest feeling, but it works. What you're gonna do is you're gonna grab right here. You're gonna kind of pinch it here, pull back on it like this, and then this is where you do it, and then you just flip it up like that. Okay, so you can see this is where your CO2 is stored. There's a little sort of key that you kind of turn. You'll open it up to get some space, put your CO2 in, and then screw this, tighten it all the way until you hear it hiss into the gun, and then you're good to go. Okay, so what I like is that I find this a little easier than the new the 715 revolver, because you have to pry the whole grip, take the key out, take the Allen key out, and then screw it in. It's fine, but I like that it's all just kind of part of the gun, and everything kind of just stays, and then from here you just kind of close everything back. Okay, this is a pretty new gun, so it's pretty stiff in there. So I mean, I've heard stories that for some people with a Dan Wesson or a wind gun revolver with this kind of style grip for the CO2, it can get pretty loose, but so far no complaints on my end. Okay, the cylinder release is only on the left side here. Okay, it does actually provide a safety, which if you pull this cylinder release, pull it back, it puts it in safe mode. So if you want to be extra safe, you can have that, but if and then to take it off, you just push it back forward. Okay, it's a revolver, so I really doubt you'll need to have that feature, but it's nice either way. Okay, but just like any normal revolver, to open the cylinder, you're gonna press this forward and then just push the cylinder out from the side, just like that. Okay, this is a 6-shot revolver, so like with most revolvers that you can get out there, this is where my modification comes in, and this is what I think makes these kind of revolvers 10 times more practical if you're looking to get a revolver like this. Okay, so this is a 3D printed Shotshell moon clip that I downloaded. I will leave a link in the description for where you can get the file, as well as I got these printed on Shapeways. So if you don't have a 3D printer, you can get Shapeways to print these for you, and the best part is you can get them custom colored. I had them painted in red, just so that it looks more like a shotgun shell, and then I just colored the backs of this with some gold oil-based paint marker, so that way you can get that nice little brass look at the back there. Really simple mod or just design. That way it looks more like a shot shell, like moon clip or shotgun revolver shell, if you will. So this just like a moon clip, it'll go right into the back of the cylinder here, just like that. Okay, close the cylinder up, and these each shell tube will hold 3 BBs. Okay, so you're shooting out 3 BBs at the same time rather than just one, so you get a nice shotgun spread, which is pretty sweet. I think if you want to have a handheld shotgun revolver, this is like the best way to approach it. It's not an original idea. Braden Exploder came up with this years ago, and a lot of people have come up with their own versions, and this one is my favorite because with a moon clip you can just have a bunch of pouches. You don't have to worry about losing shells and all that. So you have literally, it's like a magazine. You load that in, and then when you're ready, when you need to reload, you just open it up, eject, take the next one, put it in, rinse and repeat. Okay. I will say, just as a, if you are looking to do this modification, for this one, because this was originally designed for the 715 revolver, which I did have, and the only reason why I don't suggest using these for the 715 is because since the 715 version has hop up, okay, when you're shooting multiple BBs through the barrel, it will damage the hop up. That happened to me on the ones that I tried and the one that I had for the original review that I had for that revolver. So I did some deeper digging and I realized you actually don't want to be using these on the 715. You want to use these on the original Dan Wesson revolver because they don't have hop up. Okay, so if you want to do this particular modification, make sure you have the Dan Wesson with no hop up. Okay, that way you don't risk damage. And at the same time, I realized the 715, the ones that I've had, they were not shooting according to the numbers that they stated. They stated 450 feet per second, but it wasn't even shooting at 300 feet per second with one BB for that matter. So I don't know, maybe their quality control hasn't been as good lately, or maybe they've been sneaking in low powered versions. I don't know. Okay, either way, you do want the original or old version of the Dan Wesson. Okay, second thing, because these are originally designed for the 715, I did find when I tried inserting the shells, they were very tight. All right, because the sort of extractor star, or the inside half of the tubes, okay, they were pretty tight, or a little smaller than the 715. So all I did is I took a Dremel with this particular piece, okay, and I just very gently sanded down the inside of the holes, okay, just enough, like I would do little bits by little bits for each of the tubes. That way I could now have the shell fit perfectly inside without forcing it too much, and at the same time I can now use the extractor rod to push it out, and it's still easy enough for me to pull it out with my fingers. Okay, because before it was just super tight. I couldn't get it out even with the extractor rod, so I had to use a tool to like push it back out. So bear in mind, you might have to get a Dremel if you're looking to do this modification. You might have to Dremel the inside of the extractor shell slash cylinder tubes in order to make sure these shells fit properly. Okay, but other than that, by having these shells, it kind of actually gives the extractor rod more of a purpose, because with your original shells that you get, because they're metal and they're heavier, you literally can just dump the shells out without even using it. This, because these are plastic, they kind of grip onto the cylinder, so like you can't just dump them out like this, they stick. So you just have to use this extractor rod to push it down with your thumb, take your next one, or take it out, sorry, and then take your next one, load it up like that, rinse and repeat. So I think it's nice that it adds another sense of practicality, because you can now have maybe 4 or 5 pouches of these moon clips. Okay, if you're doing a shotgun revolver setup for your gameplay, you can have these, right, and just when you're in the game, shoot, and then take it out, load your next one, and so forth, right? And I think this just adds way more practicality, way more. It just makes this so much more useful now. Now, when you're doing this, as far as range goes, you will have to. Okay, before we get to range, sorry. One thing I should know about with these moon clips is I did have to modify these a little bit, because when you try putting BBs in here, remember each tube holds 3 BBs. The BBs just tend to fall out. I might have messed up a little bit with the printing, but if you have the issue, all you gotta do is just put a tiny dab of super glue at the very top of each tube. Let it dry for like 1 or 2 hours if you can, and then that will fill up some space. And that way the BBs don't fall out as easily, or they won't fall out at all. Okay, Once you've done that, you can just do a quick shake test just to make sure the BBs aren't falling out. But yeah, you might have to do that just because otherwise the BBs just roll out and so forth. Okay, but with the shells, by the way, okay, once you use these, instead of 450 feet per second, when you're shooting this through the chronograph, I'm getting it around low 300s, high 200s, so just perfect per CQB. Yeah, so you really couldn't ask for more. I think if you get the ones that hold more BBs, like 6 even, you're gonna get really low, like 200s or even 100-ish feet per second, which I don't think that would be ideal. You want to have it like anything. I'd say anything around 300 feet per second with something like this is perfect for a shotgun revolver like this. Now remember, because this doesn't have hop up, your range is going to be limited, which it's fine. You're not trying to snipe people from like 200 feet away or whatnot. But the effective range, even without the hop up, the BBs will kind of go like this, and I mean, you can arc your shots a little bit just to get a tiny bit more range, but I'm looking at maybe you get maybe about 60 to 80 feet of effective range. Okay, which for our CQB gun and for something like this, that's a shotgun. That's already good enough, honestly. I mean, with the 715 revolver, part of me hoped that with the hop up, you get more range, but really not necessary, especially because you're throwing multiple BBs in one barrel. BBs kind of just scatter after about 60 to 80 feet, so it's really not necessary. Okay, with the sights, pretty standard sights. Red dot at the front here for the front sight, notch at the back here. You can adjust the rear sight for windage and elevation, which is nice, but I don't really think you'll need that, especially if you are making this into a shotgun revolver. And then lastly, I guess because this is a double action revolver, you can shoot this either just by pulling the trigger, okay, and you can do a single action, just cock it back, right, shorter trigger pull, lighter trigger pull, a little slower, but I mean, if you're taking your time and making, trying to make precise shots with this, especially since it is like shooting multiple BBs out, I think it can make a bit more sense if you're like cocking the hammer more, right? If you need to take those rapid shots, you can do double action as well. So it's kind of nice that because this is a revolver, you have those options of doing either single action, if you're looking to just take one shot, hopefully. But if you're in a bad situation where you have to take multiple, you have that. As you can tell too, obviously, revolver is pretty loud, so you will be scaring the heck out of people, especially given the fact that this is shooting multiple BBs at a time. So I think it really does have that scare factor implemented into it as well, with this being a CO2 revolver and that you have these shotgun revolver shells. Now, on a full tank of CO2, I'd say I was able to, I have 10 of these, okay, so I was able to get at least 60 shots out of this. I think overall, like, you're looking at like a little over 100 shots before the FPS starts to get really weak, and you might as well just switch the canister out. Okay, so yeah, you're gonna be fine. Like, you're gonna get at least, yeah, very close. You're gonna get close to about 100 shots, more or less. So more than enough, really. Hopefully you wouldn't have to be shooting it that many times before you have to refill, but you get the point. So I guess if you're trying to set this up for a gameplay, or a class setup for your next airsoft game, you probably want like maybe 3, 4, maybe 5 of these. Probably wouldn't recommend this as a primary. Maybe good as a secondary, perhaps, or I guess unless you're doing a pistol only game, you'll probably want 3, 4, maybe 5 of these shells. Okay, so you have like 40 to 50 shots handy, and yeah, you'll pretty much slay the field with this if you're doing CQB. So I've strayed away from doing this for a while because I haven't been a fan of CO2 guns, because I don't like the fact that I can't top off my CO2. But after playing with this and such, and experimenting with this even further, that might change actually, because I've been looking at the obviously this is inspired by the Taurus Judge, which is a real steel shotgun revolver. So this is heavily inspired by that, with Brain Exploder kind of starting that trend. So I think honestly, like, in the end, like if you're looking to do something like this, it's really, this is probably your best bet. I'm starting to change my mind now. Like I might actually add this to my collection, as far as what I would want to game with down the road. So with that said, obviously this isn't going to be mine right now. This is I'm going to be using this for the airsoft range where I work at. So part of the Revolver rentals, or as far as the option goes for rentals that we provide at our range. So yeah, overall, guys, I think this is probably the coolest thing you could set up for yourself or modify to make a very, really cool handheld mini shotgun revolver. If you have questions, let me know down in the comments section below. Otherwise, hope you enjoyed this review video, and until next time, take it easy. Peace out, guys.